The rain hammered against Miller's apartment window in Bushon like bullets against glass. She stood at the kitchen sink, hands submerged in dishwater, watching her 3-year-old son Chidi trace shapes in the condensation on the glass door leading to their tiny balcony. His small finger drew circles, then lines, then something that might have been a face. "Mama, why rain make noise?" he asked in his broken mix of English, Korean, and Igbo. "Because the sky is crying, baby," she whispered, though she knew the real tears were the ones burning behind her own eyes. 3 years. 3 years since she'd fled Seoul with nothing but a positive pregnancy test and the memory of blood pooling on wet asphalt. 3 years since she'd watched Jae-sung Park, the man she'd loved with a kind of desperate intensity that destroys everything it touches, stand over a dying man without flinching. 3 years since she'd realized that the father of her unborn child was Seoul's most ruthless crime lord. Dammy's phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. She'd stopped answering unknown numbers 2 years ago, after the first 6 months of running had taught her that ghosts only had power if you gave them voice. She deleted it and returned to the dishes, but her hands were shaking now. Chidi pressed his face against the glass, his breath fogging the surface. He had his father's eyes, that same unnerving intensity that could strip away pretense and see straight through to bone. Those eyes had made her fall in love at a Gangnam Club 4 years ago when she'd been naive enough to believe that monsters could be tamed by affection. "Mama, park today." "Not today, Chidi. Too much rain." "But you promised." His lower lip jutted out in that stubborn way that was pure Jae-sung, and Dammy felt her resolve crumble. "Fine. 30 minutes when the rain stops. That's all." By afternoon, the rain had reduced to a drizzle, and Chidi was vibrating with pent-up energy. Dammy grabbed their jackets and headed to Bushon Park, her usual spot with clear sightlines and multiple exits. Old habits from her old life, the one where loving the wrong man meant learning to think like prey. The park was nearly empty. Chidi ran toward the swings, his laughter cutting through the grey afternoon like sunlight through storm clouds. Dammy found her bench and pulled out her phone, scrolling mindlessly through job listings while keeping one eye on her son. That's when she felt it. Not saw it, felt it. The air changed pressure, like the moment before lightning strikes. Her eyes swept the park with practiced efficiency. There, by the fountain, a man in a black suit too expensive for a Wednesday afternoon in a working-class neighborhood. Phone to his ear. Eyes scanning the playground with algorithmic precision. Kim Tae-minute, Jae-sung's right hand. The man with the scar bisecting his left eyebrow, earned the same night Dammy had earned the one on her shoulder blade. Her blood turned to ice water. "Mama. Mama, watch." Chidi's voice rang out across the park. Tae-minute's head snapped toward the sound. Dammy watched his face do the mathematics, saw recognition bloom like poison flowers, saw certainty settle into his features like concrete. Their eyes met across 50 meters of dying grass. Tae-minute's hand moved to his phone. Dammy was already moving, already grabbing Chidi off the swing, already running toward the back exit while her son screamed in confusion. "Mama, what?" "Not now, baby. Not now." The black Mercedes materialized like it had been summoned from hell itself, blocking the only exit. The door opened. Jae-sung Park stepped out, and Dammy forgot how to breathe. 3 years had carved him into something sharper, more dangerous. His charcoal suit probably cost more than her yearly salary. But it was his face that stopped her cold, that beautiful, terrible face she'd traced in darkness, the face that had promised her safety while building her a prison. His eyes found Chidi and went absolutely still. Dammy watched the calculation happen. Watched shock give way to disbelief, then to something worse than anger, something cold and final. "No." The word fell from her lips like a stone. "Jae-sung, please." "How old?" His voice was gravel and silk, exactly as she remembered. Chidi pressed against her leg, small fingers twisting in her jacket. "Mama, who is that man?" Jae-sung's eyes cut to their son's face, and something cracked behind the mask. She watched him catalogue every detail, the eyes, the jawline, the way Chidi tilted his head in confusion exactly like his father did. 3, Dammy heard herself say. He's 3 years old. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Tae-minute and 3 other men had formed a perimeter. People were being quietly redirected. The park was emptying like water down a drain. You were pregnant. Not a question. An accusation. A verdict. That night when you ran, you were carrying my child. I had to. You had to what? Now the rage came, finally breaking through that terrible calm. Steal my son? Let me think you were dead? I searched for you, Dammy. I tore this city apart. I thought someone had killed you. He stopped, jaw working. I mourned you. Your world killed someone that night, she shot back. I watched a man die while you stood over him. And I was pregnant. I knew I couldn't raise a child in your world. So you ran. Took my son. Hid him for 3 years. He took a step closer. Did you think about telling me? Every day. The admission burned. Every single day I looked at his face and saw yours and hated you for it. Chidi started crying, high, frightened sobs that tore at Dammy's heart. Jae-sung looked at his son, really looked, and something in him fractured. He doesn't know me, he said, voice breaking. My son doesn't even know who I am. He's safe, Dammy whispered. That's all that matters. Safe. His laugh was ugly. You think you're safe here? Working minimum wage, hiding in this neighborhood? How long before my enemies find you instead? How long before someone realizes who he is and uses him against me? The words hit like physical blows because they were true. I didn't want this life for him. You think I did? Something raw crossed his face. But he exists, Dammy. Our son exists. And now we protect him together, or I do it alone. You can't take him from me. I can. Simple. Factual. Terrifying. Or you both come with me now, and we figure this out. The drive to Jae-sung's penthouse was silence and Chidi's hiccuping sobs. Dammy held him close, whispering reassurances in Igbo that tasted like lies. Odimma, Noirem Mama's here. Nothing was okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building so expensive even the elevator required security clearance. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul like a kingdom laid out for conquest. Everything was cold, beautiful, utterly empty of warmth. Guest room is through there. Jae-sung pointed down a hallway. Get him settled. We talk in 1 hour. The guest room was bigger than her entire apartment. Chidi clung to her, exhausted, confused, too young to understand that their lives had just been demolished and rebuilt into something unrecognizable. Mama, I don't like it here. I know, baby. But we're safe now. Another lie. She was drowning in them. When the knock came exactly 1 hour later, Dammy's hands were shaking so badly she had to clasp them together. Chidi had finally fallen asleep, tear-stained and exhausted. Jae-sung's office was dark wood and darker intentions. The moment the door closed, he turned on her. 3 years. Dammy. You stole 3 years of my son's life. Explain. I was pregnant and terrified and I watched you kill someone. He was trafficking children. The words came out flat, brutal. Girls as young as 8. Bringing them across borders, selling them. That's who I killed. That's who you ran from me to protect. The ground shifted beneath her feet. You never told me that. You never asked. You saw blood and ran. He moved closer. I'm not a good man. I've never pretended to be. But I have lines. Children. Women who can't fight back. Those are my lines. And when someone crosses them, I handle it personally. Dammy wanted to argue, but she'd grown up in Lagos. She knew what monsters looked like. Knew sometimes only monsters could stop other monsters. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to see me as human. His jaw tightened. For 6 months, you made me feel like maybe I could be something other than this. Then you left and took that with you. I was pregnant. Jae-sung. What was I supposed to? Trust me. The words exploded. You were supposed to trust me. Instead, you vanished and left me with nothing but grief. Would you have let me go if I'd told you? The silence was answer enough. This was always going to end badly, she said. Maybe. But we have a son now. That changes everything. He ran a hand through his hair. I don't know how to be a father. But I know I can protect him. And I know I can't do it if you keep running. What do you want from me? I want you to stay. Both of you. I want to know my son. He paused. And I want to know if what we had was real. The honesty in his voice was worse than any threat. And if I say no? Then you stay anyway, but as prisoners. And our son grows up knowing his mother chose to be his father's enemy. He moved closer. Don't make me be the villain in his story, Dammy. She looked at him, this dangerous man who'd given her the best 6 months and worst 3 years of her life. I need guarantees. You're not in a position. Yes, I am. She met his eyes. You want us to stay willingly. You want your son to know you. That only happens if I cooperate. So yes, I'm negotiating. Something like respect flickered across his face. Name your terms. Chidi doesn't know about your business until he's old enough to understand. He goes to normal school. Has a normal life. And if I ever think he's in danger because of you, I'm gone. And this time, you won't find us. He studied her for a long moment. Agreed. But understand this, you're not leaving again. Ever. Whether you're here as my partner or my prisoner is up to you. It should have terrified her. Instead, it settled over her like inevitability. Okay, she heard herself say. His eyes closed briefly. Thank you. They stood in expensive silence, two people bound by a child and history and the strange gravity that had always existed between them. Jae-sung's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and went rigid. What? Choi Minute Ho, he said the name like a curse. My rival. He's asking questions about a Nigerian woman and a mixed child. His eyes met hers. He knows. Dammy. Someone told him about Chidi. The world tilted. That's impossible. I have a leak. Someone in my organization has been feeding him information. His voice turned to ice. And now the most dangerous man in Seoul knows I have a son. His phone rang. He answered, listened, went absolutely still. How many? A pause. Lock everything down. Now. He ended the call and turned to her, and Dammy saw genuine fear in his eyes for the first time. Someone just tried to breach building security. They were asking for you by name. Jae-sung moved to the door. Stay here. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me. Jae-sung. They're already coming for him, Dammy. His voice cracked. We're out of time. He left. Alarms began wailing somewhere in the building. Dammy stood alone in the office, realizing with terrible clarity that she hadn't saved Chidi by staying. She'd just made him the most valuable target in Seoul. She ran back to the guest room. Chidi was sitting up in bed, eyes wide with fear. Mama, what's that sound? It's okay, baby. We're safe here. She gathered him into her arms, feeling his small heart hammering against her chest. The sound of gunfire, distant but unmistakable, echoed through the building. Dammy's training from her Lagos childhood kicked in. She grabbed Chidi, pulled him into the bathroom, locked the door, and wedged them into the space between the toilet and the wall. It wasn't much, but it was cover. Mama, I'm scared. I know. But I need you to be very quiet now, okay? Like we're playing hide and seek. He nodded, pressing his face into her shoulder. More gunfire. Closer now. Shouting in Korean, commands, warnings, the sounds of violence. Then silence. Footsteps in the hallway. The bedroom door opened. Dammy. Jae-sung's voice. Dammy, it's me. She almost cried with relief. In here. He opened the bathroom door, and she saw blood on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, but he was alive. Are you hurt? She demanded. Not my blood. Come on, we need to move. Now. What's happening? Minute-Ho sent 20 men. We stopped them, but he'll send more. This building isn't safe anymore. He looked at Chidi. Hey, buddy. I know you're scared, but I need you to be brave for your mama, okay? Chidi stared at him with those identical eyes, then slowly nodded. They moved through the penthouse, Ty Minute and 4 other guards forming a protective circle around them. The elevator was out of service. Too risky. They took the emergency stairs, 43 floors down, Jae-sung carrying Chidi while Dami's legs burned with exertion. In the underground parking garage, 2 armored SUVs waited, engines running. Where are we going? Dami asked as Jae-sung strapped Chidi into a car seat that appeared to have been installed in the last hour. Somewhere Minute-Ho won't think to look. He met her eyes over their son's head. Somewhere we can be a family while I end this war. How are you going to end it? His smile was cold. The same way I end everything. Permanently. They drove through Seoul in the dead of night, Chidi falling asleep despite the adrenaline, despite everything. Children had that gift, the ability to find peace in chaos. The safe house was in Gangwon province, 3 hours from Seoul, tucked into mountains like a secret. It was smaller than the penthouse, warmer, with wooden floors and windows that overlooked forests instead of cityscapes. How long do we stay here? Dami asked as Jae-sung carried sleeping Chidi to a bedroom. Until it's over. A week, maybe 2. And if Minute-Ho finds us? He won't. Jae-sung's certainty was absolute. Only 5 people know this location. 4 of them would die before betraying me. The 5th is in this room. She should have been offended. Instead, she understood. In his world, trust was a luxury that could get you killed. Over the next 10 days, they lived in strange domesticity. Jae-sung made phone calls in Korean, coordinating his war from the mountains. Dami cooked, cleaned, watched Chidi play in the snow for the first time. And slowly, carefully, she allowed her son to know his father. Why does he have that scar? Chidi asked one morning, pointing to a mark on Jae-sung's collarbone. Jae-sung glanced at Dami, then back to their son. I made some bad choices when I was younger. This reminds me not to make them again. Did it hurt? Very much. Mama kisses my hurts to make them better. Jae-sung's eyes found Dami's across the room. Does she? That night, after Chidi was asleep, Dami found Jae-sung on the porch, staring at mountains silhouetted against stars. It's done, he said without turning. Minute-Ho is dead. His organization is scattered. We can go home. Home, she repeated. To Seoul. To wherever you want. He finally looked at her. I meant what I said. I'll protect you both. But I won't force you to stay if you truly want to leave. You said I wasn't allowed to leave. I was angry. And scared. And desperate. He moved closer. But I've watched you with him this week. Watched you be the mother I never had. And I realized, I don't want you to stay because you're afraid. I want you to stay because you choose to. Dami studied his face in the moonlight. What if I can't choose yet? What if I need time to figure out if the man I fell in love with still exists under all this violence? Then we'll have time. All the time you need. He reached out, tucking a loose braid behind her ear. I've waited 3 years, Dami. I can wait longer. She leaned into his touch before she could stop herself. He needs his father. And you. His voice was rough. What do you need? I need to know you won't become the monster I thought you were. I need to know my son won't grow up thinking violence is love. I can't promise I'll ever be completely good, he said honestly. But I can promise I'll never let our son see the worst of me. And I can promise that everything I do, every choice I make, will be to keep you both safe. It wasn't enough. It was everything. She kissed him then, tasting 3 years of longing and loss and the fragile possibility of something better. He kissed her back like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-sung rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Please, Dami. Stay." And she realized she'd already made her choice. Maybe she'd made it the moment she'd agreed to get in his car. Or maybe she'd made it 3 years ago when she'd run instead of staying to see if love could survive in darkness. "Okay," she said. "We'll stay. We'll try." His smile was sunrise after endless night. 3 months later, Dami stood in the kitchen of their new home. Not the penthouse, not the safe house, but something in between. A house with a yard where Chidi could play, in a neighborhood where Jae-sung's reputation couldn't reach. Chidi ran through the living room, chasing a ball, laughing in that pure way only children could. Jae-sung caught him mid-run, swinging him into the air while their son shrieked with delight. Again. Appa. Again. Dami's heart clenched. Appa. Father. Chidi had started calling him that last week. Jae-sung's eyes found hers over their son's head, and in them she saw the same wonder she felt. They were building something here. Something fragile and imperfect and absolutely worth fighting for. "Mama, come play," Chidi demanded. She walked over, and Jae-sung's arm came around her waist, pulling her into their small circle. His lips brushed her temple. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving me this. For giving us a chance." She looked up at him, this dangerous man who'd learned to be gentle, this killer who'd learned to love. "Don't make me regret it." His smile was soft. "I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you don't." And watching their son play between them, Dami thought maybe some secrets were meant to be discovered. Maybe some endings were actually beginnings in disguise. Maybe love really could survive in the dark, as long as you were brave enough to turn on the light. This story proves that sometimes the most dangerous secrets are the ones we keep from ourselves. Share if you believe in second chances and the power of redemption. What would you do in Dami's position?
Comment, Bilo?